This is Abraham Verghese. I'm talking about my novel Cutting for Stone. Cutting for Stone is a grand epic novel. It begins with a nun from South India giving birth to twins in a mission hospital in Africa. And one of the twins becomes the narrator for the story. And the great mystery of the book, the great conceit of the book, is who is the father of these twins, which is something you don't find out till very near the end, although you might have your suspicions. So the title for the book is something that came to me a long time before I really had the book itself. It's a line from the Hippocratic Oath. I've always liked the Hippocratic Oath. It's full of ancient Greek sounding phrases, I swear by Apollo and all that. And in there is a line, I will not cut for stone. And it refers to a time when bladder stones, kidney stones were endemic and common, and people suffered with great agonies. Children would die with big golf ball sized stones in their bladder, and people like Samuel Johnson wore top hats with catheters in them so they could catheterize themselves several times a day because of big stone. And there were itinerant stone cutters who would go from city to city and would know the secret of cutting to take out the stone. Mind you, they were using a knife that wasn't sterile, and so people would often die after that, but they relieved the suffering, which was something. But it was not to be undertaken lightly. You had to know what you were doing, and so hence came the expression, I will not cut for stone. And so the bearing that it has to my book is manifold, and I like the idea that titles should be slightly mysterious, and the reader comes to this moment in the book where the title suddenly resonates. But at one level it can be, the characters' names are stone, and it can be about the twins, the sons looking to find their father. It could be a metaphor for getting to the heart of things. There's a line from Yeats who talks about the stone of the heart. So I wanted it to be a little mysterious, and I think each reader defines what the title means their own way. That's sort of a great question, because you hope that if you write it in a certain way, the reader never stops to ask that question. And I'm emboldened to do that because of reading The Tin Drum, by Günter Grass. There's a great scene in The Tin Drum when Oscar, the narrator, first-person narrator, is describing how his father was conceived, how his grandmother was in a potato field and she had 9 layers of skirts, and she rotated a new skirt, brought the one on the inside to the outside every other day. And one day she was in that potato field and roasting potatoes, and she sees a man running up and down being chased by the police, and he runs this way, he runs that way, then he comes and hides under her skirt. And that's how Oscar's father was conceived. And you never stop to ask who's telling the story, because hopefully if the writer's done a good job, that you don't get to ask that question. But I think if the reader winds up immediately saying, well, who wrote that? How does he know that? Then you failed in your mission. Well, the narrative is very much about medicine. I really wanted to write a book that was completely steeped in medicine, where every character was either in medicine or a physician or affected by medicine, generations of physicians. So these twins are brought up by 2 other physicians who are in that hospital, 2 Indian physicians, and the twins both wind up gravitating towards medicine, and the youngest twin becomes a surgeon, mostly because he sensed that it's the biggest challenge that faces him, to become a surgeon. And so it's very much a book about medicine, with every page, I hope, imbued with medicine. If I tell you much more, I'll be giving too much away, so I'll have to tease your reader by saying that's all I can tell you. So I'm often asked if the book was autobiographical, and I must say that for the longest time I used to say no, it's not, because I'm not a twin, and my mother's not a nun, and my parents were not physicians, but yet I think that at some level many novels, if not most, are autobiographical in the sense that you, the writer, have some sort of thesis that you're advancing, and you've picked a landscape and a message and a way of telling the message that's very much yours. So I suppose in that sense it is autobiographical. The character that most readers wind up really identifying with is Dr. Ghosh, and I think Dr. Ghosh to me is sort of an ideal for the father and the husband and the lover that I would have hoped to be. Something very human about him, something very human that makes him very attractive to readers. And I get a lot of letters about Dr. Ghosh, which, had I known, I would have probably thought about him differently. I'm glad that he sort of emerged that way without my knowing that he was going to be so precious to the reader. Yeah, I thought I made him into a very flawed character. He was, a single physician living in Ethiopia, visiting prostitutes, and all of a sudden his colleague decides to adopt these twins and raise them because their mother has died and the father's disappeared. And he has this moment in time when he can choose to either help her or leave for America as he was originally planning to do. And I like this notion that character is defined by decisions taken under pressure. And that moment, his decision to stay, in a funny way, redeems him completely in the reader's eyes. Changes the entire way readers view him. They don't seem to mind about the prostitutes in the past and all that, which is quite amazing to me, a revelation to me. He very much changes. He's completely altered by the experience and couldn't imagine having missed out on that opportunity. I think the simple one is that love endures, and that medicine is a powerful calling. And the great danger is that you can allow medicine to sort of swallow you up at the expense of your family life and your personal life. You can use it as a crutch, or you can use it, in the wholesome manner that you were meant to use it. So it has several messages like that, but perhaps the most important one is that love endures.